Frisco, The Secret History, a podcast. Welcome to the Frisco, The Secret History podcast. I'm your host, Knox Bronson. I have a great episode for you today. It's a bonus episode. I'm going to call it bonus number 5. I included a few bonus episodes in the first couple of months of the podcast so that people could see what a bonus episode would be like. My last bonus episode was an official bonus episode, meaning that it was available to Patreon subscribers at the $5 tier and above. Still, it was the 4th bonus episode I've created. The first 3 were samples, so this is bonus number 5. Freddie Francisco and his $20 Poontang bet with Examiner editor Bill Wren. We need to talk about Bill Wren for a minute. He was central to the genesis of this podcast. Bill Wren, managing editor of the San Francisco Examiner, was born in Boston in 1897. Orphaned in infancy and raised by relatives, he ran away to New York City at 13, where he sold newspapers and lived in a newsboys' lodging house. Made a ward of the New York Children's Aid Society by his own request, he was sent to a foster home on a Texas farm. He didn't like the work, but he did fall in love with horses. Eventually, he ran off to Chicago. He sold papers again, and then held a job as an errand boy for a dressmaker. At 15, with $2 in his pocket, he hopped a train to Seattle, where he got a job as a copy boy at the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. That lasted until the editor sent him out for coffee with sugar, but no cream. He brought back coffee with cream, but no sugar. The Seattle Times took him on as a copy boy. There he won his first chance to write, covering basketball games at the YMCA where he lived. He shifted to the Seattle Star as a cub reporter, and was doing fine until the elderly owner of 2 ancient racehorses offered him a half interest in the stable if he would help manage the little string. During his Texas adventure, he had learned to love horses and to ride. The offer seemed unbelievably handsome. He accepted with alacrity. As half owner, he discovered he had to be groom, exercise boy, and commissary for all. Ancient nags, ancient owner, and Wren would have all but starved but for the boy's ingenuity in scrounging feed and food. As it was, they lived on half rations through the Vancouver and Victoria racing seasons, the humans, that is, for Bill made sure the old racehorses he had come to love received their full measure of hay and grass and oats, corn and barley. Then the feed man claimed the horses for his feed bill, and Bill's partner found shelter at another stable, and Bill hopped the rails to Frisco. He arrived penniless, in torn pants, with an oversized turtleneck sweater hiding the fact that he owned no shirt. The year was 1908. He was 17. Dressed as such, he walked into the San Francisco Examiner office and boldly offered his services as a copy editor, a position for which he had absolutely no qualifications. He was small for his age, and the copy desk chief looked him over and huffed, "We don't need any copy boys." Bill took the hint and wandered over to another morning paper, the San Francisco Call, and somehow managed to talk his way into a job as a cub reporter, another job for which he held no credentials. He got hired as a copy editor 2 years later at the Examiner. Promoted to city editor fairly quickly, his youth and his size made it difficult to maintain control of the hard-tippling, ink-stained wretches otherwise known as reporters under his purview, and was fired again. He returned to New York, where he worked on the New York World's war desk and later worked at the New York Tribune in 1917 when the United States entered World War I. Accepted for officers' training, he went to France as a lieutenant in a machine gun company of the 78th Division and fought through Saint-Mihiel and Argonne-Meuse offensives. The war over, he returned to San Francisco in late 1919 and took a job at the Examiner once again on the copy desk. He would remain at the paper until his death on August 11, 1956. In 1925, he became city editor. He was made assistant managing editor in 1935, managing editor the following year. By this time, Bill was already something of a living legend in newspaper circles because of his combativeness and strong sense of competition which had been bred into him by the nature of his boyhood. Possessed of an unusual memory and widely ranging interests, he kept the Examiner's newsroom on its toes with an uncanny ability to spot the error or doubtful fact in a news story. You won't find it in any of his obituaries or tributes or testimonials from his famous friends, but Bill also loved gambling and the ponies all his life. I did an earlier episode on Bob Patterson, also known as Freddie Francisco, some time back. It's worth a listen, for he was quite a character. I mentioned in that episode that I knew him in the last 2 years of his life, when I worked at the Examiner. Bob was another kind of legend, but legend he was. He was one of the most charming and fascinating people I have ever met. When writing about him, the question is always, should I refer to him as Bob or as Freddie? I've decided to use both. When talking about his real life, Bob. When referring to his journalistic exploits, Freddie. I use the word exploits with purpose, because it was well known that he used his position as a powerful columnist to exploit money out of citizens of a certain kind. And by that I mean those who might have one foot over the line of the law, if you get my drift. Bob or Freddie, I'm sure you will know about whom I'm talking. Bob's real name was Preston, but he went by Patterson for most of his life. I do not know why. He used many aliases over the years, for he was an outlaw. He was a man equally at ease drinking with old money debauchees in the top of the Mark on Nob Hill, or playing boss dice with old school gangsters in dark Tenderloin saloons. I believe he preferred the company of the gangsters. Bob was one to whom Carl Jung would have ascribed the archetypal label of trickster, the rule breaker, the one who brings wisdom through chaos. And Bob possessed the trickster's disdain for the upper crust. Not that Bob didn't like money. He did. He was arrested many times for passing bad checks and other crimes. He did hard time in Sing Sing for armed robbery. The anomaly here is that Bob was a great writer with an ornate style, exceptional taste, and a broad knowledge of literature, art, and history. Sometimes his writing is so flowery, containing long-forgotten slang terms, I have had to read a sentence several times, more than once relying on an internet search to finesse its meaning. He was a brilliant autodidact. He wrote or co-wrote feature films as well: Brute Force in 1947, Suspense in 1949, Danger 1950. In the early 30s, Bob moved to Japan to write for an English-language newspaper. Writing about the forbidden topic of Tokyo's notorious Yoshiwara district got him another pink slip and deportation status on the same day that he contracted malaria. He made his way to Shanghai. As he put it in his article, The Real Story, Bob Patterson by Freddie Francisco, in the City of San Francisco magazine, August 10, 1975 edition, Shanghai was a hell of a town in those days. It was peopled from distant civilizations all over the earth: defaulting bank presidents, disbarred lawyers, cashiered officials, gentlemanly scoundrels, and scoundrelly gentlemen. There is a difference. As well as close to 100,000 splendid white Russians, and one of them, Armin Bali, survives gaily today in San Francisco as the proprietress of the town's best lamb joint. God bless her bubbling Slavic soul. Christ people, but people Patterson met. C.C. Julian, who lambed out of Los Angeles after taking half the local Iowa immigrant colony to the cleaners. General Cohen, the kosher mandarin, the only man east of Suez that the Generalissimo would trust with the key to his damper. I'm not sure what that sentence means. Like I say, Bob had a florid style. Vincent Pinco, who robbed his own bank on Nanking Road and then taunted the settlement cops about their failure to catch the thief, and they finally did. Flamboyant boss of the Paramount Cafe on Great Western Road, who would live to die under Japanese torture. Maisie Duncan, fantastically wise madam of Shanghai's quality whorehouse, became infuriated when an ambitious Hungarian lady opened a notch joint just across the street from her deluxe poon parlor. Ah, the poon parlor. The word poon plus tang is central to this episode. We shall get there soon. I just want to reestablish Bob and Freddie's bona fides as trickster. Maisie promptly hired a seemingly endless string of coolies with loose bowels to do their thing on the steps of the competing establishment each night before customer time. This seems to have had a non-aphrodisiac effect on the clientele. The Hungarian, a quick study in such matters, got the idea and took it on the Duffy. And there you go, another Freddie Francisco-ism. Then there was Joe Smith, the kindly mortician from Tibet Road, who was loved by one and all for his willingness to box any defunct, indigent American and ship him or her back to the good old USA for burial. Eventually, the customs people got the idea and took to digging up the dear departed, plus the opium stashed away in the caskets, before Smitty's friends in America could do the same thing. Sometime after Bob made his way back to the States and talked his way into a job at the Examiner as a reporter, Bill Wren, at William Randolph Hearst's request, created a society gossip column and decided Bob was the best candidate for the job. The two decided to call the column Freddie Francisco Observes. And that is where Freddie Francisco was born. In one of his many columns reporting on and sometimes terrorizing the wealthy denizens of San Francisco and high society stretching down the peninsula, Freddie mentioned that he had warned a certain wayward socialite to stay away from high-priced Poontang because too many people in his circle were gossiping about it and he would no longer be able to keep the affair under wraps. In other words, out of his column. As Freddie told the story about Bob in that same magazine article, Bill Wren, as head editorial honcho of the Examiner, was the town's ringmaster, quarterback, and journalistic seer. He wore the Golden Gate town like a Savile Row custom-tailored jacket. He was loved and feared and respected and cursed and admired by the entire staff in layers. But loved by anyone smart enough to pour piss out of a boot without the direction written on the side. Wren was a prose pro. He read and knew every line that went into the Examiner. He knew every reporter's foible, weakness, wife, and outside mouse, and played his front-running newspaper like a well-tuned Stradivarius. He knew Bob Patterson well, and was the only employer the latter ever had who never thought it necessary to remind him that he had a poor track record in the moral probity department. They got along with each other like ketchup and corned beef hash. Once Wren told Patterson he didn't want him, in a family newspaper, using the word Poontang as a synonym for coitus. Patterson allowed that it was a good word, totally unknown in the third grade, and acceptable even to Presbyterian clergymen with normal glands. Wren said no. Patterson said yes. Patterson suggested a bet. Wren bet him at 20 the term would never again be seen in the Examiner. Ciao Poontang. Then Bill Wren called Mary O'Gara, his chief copy editor, and gave her specific instructions. To find out who won the bet, make your way over to patreon.com/Frisco and sign up for the $5 tier or higher. Frisco, The Secret History, is a listener-supported podcast. Main episodes will always be free. Our website is www.friscothesecrethistory.com. Visit the website for transcripts and show notes. Paid tier members, starting at as little as $5 a month, will receive bonus episodes and other perks of membership. There is a $1 tier, but that will simply give you ad-free episodes when I get some advertisers. If you enjoy the podcast, please tell your friends about it, especially those who enjoy San Francisco or true crime history. Word of mouth is the absolute best means of promotion for any creative endeavor in this world of algorithms and the ceaseless barrage of ads, notifications, and appeals on every digital platform. If you are aware of some particular aspect of San Francisco history in the 30s and 40s you would like me to research or have a story to tell, please let me know. Once again, I'm your host, Knox Bronson. Thank you for listening. Until next time, please get a little crazy and call it Frisco.